Hey everybody, thanks for tuning in to the Ephrata Community Church Weekly Podcast, a conversation with our pastors and leaders meant to continue encouraging you to know God, know freedom, know purpose, and make a difference.
Hey, welcome to ECC's weekly podcast. Dan Gulnac here. We're so glad you chose to join us. I'm here with Jim Ehrman.
What a delight.
The man, the myth, the legend.
Borderline legend.
Often imitated, never duplicated.
You're
That's
so
the way
good
I
to
say
me.
it. Anyway, hey Jim, how you doing?
Well, I like you, Dan.
Good.
I liked you before that compliment. Thank you. Big fan of Dan Gulnac.
Yeah, as you know, we are here each week to look back on the weekend we just came off of, and to look ahead as well a little bit of what is coming up. And so before we do that, Jim, how was your weekend?
Yeah, it was good. And if you don't mind, before we even dive into what I think Kevin brought us a gift, particularly given the week we're walking into, you and I had a great privilege this weekend, didn't we?
Yeah.
Dan and I both had the chance to speak at some churches in this area. He was at New Life in the eastern edge of Ephrata, right?
That's right.
And I was with Mannheim Brethren in Christ, Mannheim Bick. And I just wanted to share something that happened when I was there. I was really caught off guard and actually blessed by just who ECC is in this region. Matter of fact, we did the huddles on Monday morning, the staff huddles at 8 a.m. We do a name something you're thankful for. And I was just like, I'm so thankful to be a part of a resourced church that has a heart for the region.
Yep.
And sends out its pastors to encourage other congregations, because I could feel it on me that I was carrying a regional gifting to remind people of what God, who He is, what He might be up to. And I just sensed encouragement in the room. And I left having given more than I'm capable of giving. In other words, the Spirit took what I had, the loaves and fish.
That's great.
And man, I just have to say that it was a chance to see another faith community be blessed by the ministry of Ephrata Community Church. And you had similar, I would think.
Yeah, for sure. You know, I don't underestimate it by saying it's a privilege to be able to go and to serve another community, and to bring refreshment to their leaders, to bring refreshment to their, come alongside other pastors and say, hey, listen, we're joining arms with you, because it's all about the kingdom. Yeah. It's all about a church being healthy. It's all about every church being healthy and living into the fullness of who God's created them to be. That's our heart here at ECC. And what a gift it is that we actually have the bandwidth as a team to be able to go and do that. And that's not saying like we're better or none of that.
We are,
like, hear us. We're not saying any of that.
And we're trying to bless others with it.
And it's just, to be able, we know how much you receive when you give. And to be a part of a church that has a heart to give back to the kingdom, and to work hand in hand with a church in our community, so that we're both operating at a place where we're fully into whatever God's called us to do to reach people.
Yeah, I love it.
Man, it's just such a...
I want to pull back the curtain a little further, so I want you to share what you're actually doing at New Life this week. And just so you know, I was at Mannheim Bick's, the last message in their 6-week series on the book of Daniel. And Bryce Taylor, their pastor, who used to attend Ephrata Community Church, has heard me on the book of Daniel before, and he said, hey man, we want to have you in to be the kind of cleanup batter, is that bat and forth or whatever it is? Anyway, what a wonderful time. So I was doing classic pulpit ministry and then prayer over people at the end. Dan, share what you were up to, because it's part of your job description that we give to this region.
That's right, yeah. So part of my job description is to do leadership development and to help leaders grow and reach their fullness across the region. So specifically what I was doing is working with the elders, the leaders, and the pastors of New Life, and working with them to actually do an assessment of where their ministry is and do some dreaming with the Holy Spirit of where they need to go, and then actually begin to chart out a course and a plan for them to take their next steps to what God's leading them to. And I've done that prior to coming to ECC, but it's so much fun just to be able to go there and to bless a congregation that way. And they were wonderful, wonderful team, wonderful elder team and pastors at New Life Fellowship. And really, I walked away encouraged of what God's doing there and what He's going to do there.
Yeah, I will say the same about Mannheim Bick. So receptive, I think they maybe showed up expecting their lead pastor that weekend to be doing the kind of thing that Kevin ended up doing here, coaching them through this week. It was so great, though. Bryce was able to get up even on the transition and encourage people with what it means to be a part of not just them as a community, but part of a nation with a national election coming up. And so that's where I thought Kevin just stewarded things so well here this weekend.
Absolutely.
My mom wrote from York County. She's one of our most loyal online members / participants. And I have to tell you, she was just all over it. Like, Kevin did such a great job.
Yeah.
Give him a hug. Kind of, mom stuff.
Yep.
But all that to say, it was really, really good stuff. And I just want to start by saying this. Kevin is humble. And if you don't mind, I want to be proud for him. When I was listening to Kevin speak on this, I don't know what inside of me triggered positively that I'm listening to someone who has authority to talk.
Yep.
This is not just someone who has theories, political theories, and how they intersect with scriptures or history, etc. This is a man who has been not only stewarding a church through, I think what he said, nine presidential elections, right? Walking with a diverse community through that, but has also given a significant portion of his life over public service as a school board member and a school board president, which is one of the most complex jobs in the nation since COVID in particular. Like I'm telling you, school boards have huge burnout and turnovers. This man has stayed faithful and stewarded. So I was listening to him with almost apostolic level trust that whatever this man says, I'm going to do because there's something on him because of the price he's paid. That's what and an authority. That's it. Apostolic, a level of authority, I think. So I just want to say thank you, Kevin, for who you are and what you delivered.
Yeah. One of the things he often shares with us is that when you walk through a season or a difficulty and through the power of the Spirit, you overcome that, you gain authority in that. And he has done that over and over and over again in the public sphere and in the governmental sphere. And so with that comes that authority where you should have your antenna up and say, okay, this is something that he's not speaking like theologically or whatever. He's speaking from practical experience of how to live out a deep theology into the public and governmental sphere.
And believe me, in our community, and man, do we love our community. We have both, I don't want to call them extremes, I'm tired of that word. We have both streams within us as Christians of those who think we need to be talking way more than we do about political dynamics from the front, and those that say we already talk about it too much because we're polluting the, maybe those who might come from more of an Anabaptist background, which I completely understand. And I just want to say that is a tricky business to be up there stewarding this, but to be able to steward it out of a position of authority and having tried to walk people and communities through this, it's really beautiful. And I want to highlight his opening statement here. The people of God carry a greater responsibility along with greater influence. That what we do this week is not just about, did you vote? That is basic responsibility in this country. I think where I was really ministered to was Kevin was reminding me, hey, get out and vote, but also if this vote doesn't go your way or if this vote gets confusing, we have a responsibility to move in the opposite spirit of how Satan will want to take things and twist them and do things. And I just heard him reminding us our responsibility extends even beyond just voting in this particular cycle.
Yeah, I agree. And I thought it was really amazing the way he gave historical context.
Yeah, it was great, wasn't it?
And even
he went through the different elections how we were at such a unique spot.
At the 10:30 service, I, having already heard him, I was able to kind of look around to kind of gain even more of the room. No, I had Google out. No, just because it was fun to see people's reactions, those remembering and then those maybe hearing actually for the first time, because of whatever their age was. It wasn't something that was, they were conscious of, even what happened with 2000. And when he was talking about, could you imagine that scenario now? Oh, man. People like, how do we get here in 24 years? And the reality is, the anxiety of this moment where people are so just so wrapped up in which side and all those things. And let's be honest, there's some real issues and there's some real things, and we're not hiding from that. But how people of faith respond to this should matter, and it does matter. And quite honestly, I agree with him. How we respond to this will shape how our country responds to this. Because if there is any group of people that have the responsibility and the influence of the moral temperature of this country, post Tuesday, it should be the people of God.
It should be the church.
And we can't hide from that. We actually need to walk that out.
That's right. And Kevin goes on then to say, be rooted in truth, so that if you're so saturated with it, anything that comes along that is a little bit off from it, you're able to spot it, right? Yeah. And I just sense his heart in it. It's not just the propositional truth we have coming from the scriptures, but the posture, that the truth of how Jesus walked, not just what he delivered, but how he walked among people. That is the call to truth that we have. We have to line up our actions and reactions with the posture of Jesus, much less the propositions. And just thought it was such a great, great reminder. And then much less to end with. And, we're called to seek and save the lost. Just how much our witness, like getting back to your point, our witness is linked to the way we steward this week. Yeah. We will gain or lose authority as the church based in how we carry ourselves in this week. So it's
for sure. And with a kingdom mindset and just a desire to say, at the end of the day, I even enjoyed his statement where he was like, he named one of the founding fathers, I think it was John Adams, where he said, this whole experiment of a constitutional republic does not work without a moral people.
Without a character.
And how do we have a moral people? Well, we all know this. I mean, it's people that are surrendered to the Holy Spirit and surrendered to the truth of of what God gives us. And so, rather than rely on a party or a person to save this nation, come on, we can hold both intention, and our ability to do that well matters, and it will affect how people are open to the gospel.
Yeah, absolutely will. It will. By the way, I just love that little allusion he did there to John Adams, and just that when John said, like I'm talking like I knew him personally. when John and Abigail were over for dinner, exactly. I was just chilling with him, and John busted out this great line about
it's like, John, let me drop something
about drinking a Sam Adams, which is so confusing. Brewer and a patriot, but all that to say, if I have any authority left, John Adams saying, hey, I hear him say this. A democracy is more fragile than we think. Just like relationships with our kids, our spouses, they're more fragile. Like life tries to get you to think that everything you have is something you deserve versus a privilege that needs to be stewarded, vigilance, care for it. And I just think that even as I was listening to Kevin speaking, who's walking through history, I think we're being reminded of our fragility. Yeah. We are the longest democracy that's ever existed, but that is no promise.
No.
You're right? And so how we carry ourselves in the midst of it and what we carry is something that's so, so important. And then, I also think, who else wrote, John Adams said, a democracy needs a moral people. Did you guys know that, when I say you, I'm also talking to
all of you,
Elijah in the room. Did you know that there's a famous book, The Wealth of Nations by Adam Smith. It's like the foundation of all Western capitalism, right? Yep. And it's considered an absolute legend, but it was actually 2 volumes. The first volume was called On Moral Sentiments. And in it, he argued, if you do not have this kind of character, what I'm about to show you in The Wealth of Nations will break or... You know what I mean? So I oftentimes, and by the way, I sent away for them. I have them both on my shelf. It was hard to find volume 1 because we forget.
Wow. Honestly, isn't that interesting?
I can buy Wealth of Nations like this.
That enough in and of itself.
I had to search for volume 1. Because we cannot forget that who we are called to be is linked to these beautiful systems and things we've been handed to do. Yep. Anyway, we had fun there, didn't we?
Sure did.
Dan and Jim's history tour.
I think that what I took away the most was, when we come to 2 Chronicles 7:14, Kevin's challenge to take responsibility. Take responsibility for your walk, for your humility before the Lord. How are you called? How's He calling you to show up in the world?
Sure.
And also then to pray for our nation that He would heal it.
That's right.
And so I thought he brought us to a great challenge, but also a very good reframing where some people may have been coming into this week to give us a kingdom view and to fill our hearts with hope. So I was really appreciative of the weekend.
And it was fun. I have to say, we just wrapped up the You Asked For It series. It was a lot of fun. So thank you to you all for what you sent in. We are so aware that there was a number of questions we weren't able to get to, or that we collated down and combined them with others. If you have anything that's pretty pressing on you and you're like, oh, but I really do need the perspective on X, Y, or Z, would you reach out to us? Just ask at effortofcommunity.church, and we will make sure that one of the pastors or someone we know is gifted to be able to address that. We'll get back to you personally. I was going to say privately. What I just meant to say is we'll get back to you personally and be happy to chat that with you. So please reach out to us. Now, we have a big month coming up. From front of house, we'll be talking a little bit about stewardship, what the resources we've been given, and just ways to worship God through the resources we've been given. That could be all the way from our time to finances, our relationships, etc. And so we're going to be spending a few weeks just on stewardship. And by the way, there's no one in all my years of hanging out with the church, and I've been in it a long time, man, half a century. In all my years, no one stewards this conversation better than Effort Community Church. There is just such a healthy understanding of the privilege, the joy, the cheerfulness that is involved in us stewarding our resources for God. And so I love it whenever this church talks about that topic. So I was glad that popped up. And our other big thing this month is the HarvestNet International Summit. We care about the world. Come on, man. We believe that the center of Christianity is on the move. We want to be a part of the regions of the world that are experiencing revival level stuff and the establishment of churches to influence those cultures. And we get to talk about that a lot during the HarvestNet Summit coming up the third week of November.
Yeah, and it's really exciting for those of you that don't know. We get to host leaders from all over the world who see coming to Effort at Community Church as a time once a year where they experience refreshment, where they get to actually walk with other leaders and to be poured into. And it's a gift that we have the opportunity. We started with this talking about our regional ability, but the opportunity we have over this week to bless the nations
that's so true.
Is such a great thing. And so, if you have time to stop in and check it out, I would encourage you to, because not only will you receive, but just you being able to have conversations with people from other parts of the world, you will bring a blessing to them.
That's right. Yeah, and evening sessions are free. You can of course register for the daytime sessions, but evening sessions are speakers are gentleman from the West Coast, Steve. Who's our speaker on campusing?
He's from the East Coast. Goodness,
did I get my coast wrong? I'm so bad. Anyway,
Greg,
it's someone. It is a guy
Seacoast Church
with a name.
Church. Elijah, help us.
Oh, I know we are lamer than lame, but all that to say, from Seacoast Church, he's one of the first churches that chose a campusing model and did it quite successfully. Something we're even considering the possibility of.
Greg Surratt.
That's it. Ding. We knew it. Dan would nail it. Greg Surratt. Anyway, I've heard such great things about him. So come. The whole topic is multiply. Then, of course, Jessica Tate will be here, who's also has a voice to the next generation, next gen conversation. It's going to be good stuff. Anyway, that's enough for today. We look forward to seeing you this coming weekend as we experience it together. But of course, wherever you're at this week, be light and life and love, and it'll be all right. Hey, take care, folks.
Bless you.
Hey, thanks again for joining us today. We hope that you've been encouraged by listening. You can listen to previous episodes, find additional resources, and of course, learn more about us at effortofcommunitychurch.com.